So this is a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but no one else has done this, so I guess I'll do it. Hello everyone, this is Venom Geek Media here, and as I say, this is something that's been bugging me for quite a little while, and actually, none of the actual Halo tubers have actually covered this, so I guess I'll do it for the time being. If you are a Halo tuber, consider doing this, because this is going to get no views on my channel because I'm a Star Trek channel, not a Halo channel, and according to the YouTube algorithms, I can't like other things. So from the title of the video, you'll know that what I'm here to talk about today is AA guns and the role they play in the Halo universe, the quite significant role they play in the Halo universe. You see, the other day I was listening to Willie Asso's totally honest thoughts on Halo 3. He was talking about it with his friends. And something interesting that they had pointed out, which had sort of been at the back of my mind, is that the first third of Halo 3 basically culminates in Master Chief destroying a Covenant AA gun. Master Chief, the great hero of humanity, and his contribution to the big final battle with the Covenant on Earth is destroying an AA gun. Now, in terms of the logic of the games, it's perfectly sufficient. Of course, Master Chief in the books should be doing some kind of Mint Blitz style stunt where he grenade jumps a warthog and flies through the air with a rocket launcher and sniper rifle, destroying all of the Covenant forces, in ridiculous fashion. But this is not the Halo books, this is the Halo games, and in the Halo games, at least, Master Chief as a character is a little bit more grounded, shall we say. But in any case, I was quite interested by the fact that it is a very distinct part of Halo 3 and also Halo Reach, but Halo 3, it's certainly one of the biggest parts of the game, and it happens multiple times throughout the games that you will be called upon as Master Chief to take out anti-air emplacements. Same thing happens in Reach. That's basically the entire plot of Tip of the Spear, is you destroying Covenant AA emplacements. And what's interesting about this is that there's multiple kinds of anti-air assets used by the Covenant. If we go by Halo 3's The Storm, which is the best and most well-rounded depiction, we actually have two main types. We have the AA Wraith, which everyone loves. The fact that AA Wraith is purely used for AA, it comes off a little bit like the 88mm gun, where actually you could do very well by pointing that on the ground. And indeed, if you pull off the AA Wraith hijack, you will soon see that, although you won't generally be able to use it for all that long, but it is tremendous fun. And it's like a Katyusha rocket launcher. It's incredibly powerful. But in terms of its applications as an AA emplacement, it's actually quite limited in what it can do. It will be pretty efficient at shooting at things like Hornets and other sort of VTOL assets, Pelicans, Falcons if Falcons were around, but those kind of slower moving VTOL assets. What it isn't going to be much use for is taking out faster airborne assets like longsword fighters or fighter bombers. This is an interesting other aspect of aerial warfare in Halo, is that we have almost 3 different tiers of aerial warfare, and actually you as the player only really get to participate in the lowest form, that being the ground support. Hornets, Banshees, stuff like that. You don't get to participate in that higher level airborne warfare, which involves longswords, seraphs, all of that kind of thing. Now, why do I bring this up in this very unstructured rant? Well, because it shows actually that the developers put in a little bit of depth of thought into how anti-air works in the Halo universe. As I say, you've got 3 different kinds of air asset. The overwhelming aerial asset is, of course, the starship, the warship. And a very common tactic in the Halo universe is going to ground. Presumably this means, I'm not an expert on Halo ships, but presumably this means that ships which normally in space are worried about being attacked from front, side, rear, dorsal, ventral quarters can now focus on defending themselves merely from dorsal attack, at least from other starships, and generally can use their other assets to defend themselves from any kind of horizontal attack that may take place, especially when you then augment that with deployment of additional defensive emplacements, which the Covenant do very frequently. And so that brings us to these defensive emplacements. These are, of course, the AA guns that you see in Reach, Halo 2, and 3. The Halo 2 guns might not be anti-air guns, they might just be howitzers. We don't see them fire, so we don't honestly know, but we can definitely see that both the Reach guns and the Halo 3 guns are AA guns. They operate actually very differently. The Halo 3 gun is a very, very powerful gun. It's obviously more modern than the older guns that we see in Reach, which are quite cumbersome assemblies and require a lot of structure. The Halo 3 gun is a very, very advanced looking gun and just fires an enormous bolt of plasma. That genuinely does feel like a pure anti-starship weapon. I'm sure it could shoot at things like longswords very effectively as well, but I feel that primarily its role is, especially against UNSC ships which don't have shielding, it's going to be best used against enemy capital ships, while the other gun that we see in Halo Reach that fires in a 3-round burst very rapidly, I could see that being as a more suppressive AA asset that would be relatively good against fast-moving targets like a longsword. And I suppose the other thing to factor in is that you could send in, so potentially you could get through that barrier with longswords, but chances are longswords aren't going to be able to deliver anything substantial. After all, they open up on the Prophet's key ship with Mac rounds and they seemingly bounce off. That's by the by. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked again because that's what I do in this kind of thing. The point is that in the Storm, Halo 3, the Storm, which is what I'm actually talking about, the culmination of the first third of Halo 3, you actually proceed through layers of anti-air defenses. This starts out with the AA Wraiths, and these are primarily there for close anti-air, i.e. to shoot down VTOL assets like Hornets and Pelicans. And this means you can't mobilize these smaller, more agile VTOL assets against the larger, more cumbersome AA gun, which is ultimately operating against larger, fast-moving fighters, or more likely, Starship-grade targets, as the main AA gun at the end of the mission does. I just find this very interesting because it shows how you can have ground attack, or how you can have ground battles take place in a universe which readily admits the power of the Starship. In the Halo universe, while Halo is a first-person shooter and is obviously focused on ground combat, the Starship is very much acknowledged in-universe, especially the Covenant ships, to be a utterly dominating force in the battle space. And it also doesn't have a lot of the freedoms that, say, softer sci-fi, which I'm not sure is actually a fair comparison really to say, given that Halo is not exactly the hardest sci-fi either. But sci-fi like, for example, Star Trek or Star Wars, where shield technology is an awful lot more abundant, or in the case of Star Wars, where starship weapons actually appear to be relatively pathetic. We can talk about and debate that, but certainly Halo, the universe of Halo, acknowledges the power of starship-borne weaponry, and instead of balancing that by saying that planets can have orbital shields, obviously there's story reasons for why the Covenant often have to land, but things like Mac platforms and Covenant AA guns give a decent reason for why a starship can't just storm into atmosphere and do what it likes. Although it doesn't happen in Halo 2, I do kind of wonder when the Prophet of Truth goes to ground and you can see his carrier in the distance on Delta Halo. I do almost wish we could have had a cutscene or a set-piece moment of gameplay where the in amber clad drops into atmosphere and takes some Mac pot shots at the Covenant carrier, although that might just piss them off more than anything else. But the whole presence of these kinds of anti-air assets are a good way of balancing very dominant starships in the universe, again, without relying on hard defenses like shields, which often can be too powerful and then make everyone wonder why you even bother having starships in the first place. Shields kind of have the risk of cutting out too much in a game like Halo, where you want to actually have quite a bit of variety in your missions, you don't just want to be Master Chief walking around. You want to be Master Chief in a Warthog, in a tank, in a Hornet, so on and so forth. You want to allow that variety and that sense of combined arms. We have to have that level of combined arms, while in Star Trek, weapons are often multi-purpose and, have all sorts of different uses. So a anti-air asset in Star Trek can probably be used just as effectively against a shuttlecraft as it can a starship. Supposedly, the nice thing about the Halo universe is that we have this kind of tiered nature of anti-air assets and the different ways in which they operate. The large Covenant AA guns are very much intended to take out large, valuable targets. It's going to be quite expensive every time one of those things fires, as opposed to the smaller anti-air Wraith, which, while you might argue could be better used as an aggressive weapon, it's worth pointing out, when we see it in Halo 3, it is deployed in a defensive fashion. Again, you can argue its effectiveness, given that you in a Hornet will be able to take them out, and realistically, that thing should just blast you out of the sky or have such a suppressive effect that you can't get anywhere near where you need to be. At the end of the day, a video game has to happen, but I just find it interesting that Bungie, in the design of Halo 3, in creating interesting and enthralling gameplay, and giving the player sort of simple enough objectives for, what they're actually able to do. You can't have a mission where Master Chief 360 no-scopes his way through the entire Covenant army all on his own. That's just... The game wouldn't be fun if you could actually do that. And again, the more grounded elements of the Halo universe, being surrounded by Marines who are telling you how awesome you are, and sort of playing a part in a larger war, that's just as much part of the Halo experience as being a 7-foot-tall green guy with a blue eagle in his head. So with that all said and done, this is my little rant on AA assets, or precisely Covenant AA assets in the Halo universe, and how they're quite interesting, quite cool, show us a lot about how the world functions, and the fact that none of the Halo channels have covered it. So I hope you all enjoy, and I hope this serves as a good kick up the arse for the actual Halo channels to cover it, unlike me, because this is going to get absolutely no views. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.